Yo, what's going on, guys? In today's video I want to talk about a very interesting strategy. The main thing about it is that we're gonna be doing maps without losing any sextant charges. And it is possible because of this harvest craft. It is not a new harvest craft, but thanks to changes to harvest this league, we are able to do this enchant pretty much infinitely as long as you have a life force. In the past, you had to find this craft in a maps when you were doing harvest, and it was a pretty rare one, so not that many people were doing strategy with this one. But when they announced the changes to harvest this league, immediately I was thinking about strategy with this section, and I have been planning to do one for a while. But to be honest, my build is not the best for this type of strategies, and I was busy with other strategies, so I decided to save it for later. But finally I decided to do it. But unfortunately, because of that, a lot of people have been doing it, and because of that, price of a yellow life force is actually pretty bad right now, because you can only buy 15 life force for 1 chaos. And for example, blue one, you can buy around 40 for 1 chaos. And because of that, this craft alone is worth, actually price is around 16, 156 chaos, so around 150 C. For this enchant, and it basically is gonna let you do one map without consuming any sextant charges. So you can, if you have 4 voidstone, you can use up to 4 different sextants. So thanks to this, we are gonna have 4 sextants basically for free. So because of the high price of this craft, we have to use the most expensive sextants possible. So first, let me talk about the strategy as a concept, like what are the possible sextants you can go for and possible strategies. And then I'm gonna talk about the example that I did in this test. So the most expensive sextants are the Winged Scarab with 16 uses. This is thanks to the elevated sextant. It is gonna give you 3 Winged Scarabs every map, and this one costs 6 divines. But because you're only getting 1 free use out of this craft, you're basically gonna get 73 chaos back from this section. So we are already almost at half of the price of life force. And the other ones you can go for is harvest. Because of the expensive price of life force, harvest is actually a very good one right now. And this sextant costs around 120 C. So for 1 use, if you have 4 uses on this sextant, that's 30 chaos. Another good one is yellow life force, and life force is duplicated. It costs around 100 C, so divided by 4, that's 25 chaos. Another really good one is runic monsters are duplicated, basically 100% more of them. This one costs around 80 C. You can also go for the guaranteed conqueror map. I don't have one right now. This one is Shaper Guardian, but it's basically the same sextant, but it's gonna say the conqueror guardian map. These go for around 150 C, and the guaranteed conqueror map is around 30 to 35 chaos. And the last one that I don't have right now is probably the Delirium, guaranteed Delirium mirror. This one, I believe, goes for around 70-80 C, so you're also getting like 20 C out of the craft. So that's basically the idea. You just go for the most expensive sextants. You use this craft to just not consume them, and then you choose your maps as hard as you can, and you get the most out of them. So I decided to go with my strategy for these 4. So Winged Scarab, Harvest, and the Runic Monster. And the reason is that Harvest and the Runic Monsters, Expedition, synergize very well with each other in terms of choosing your Atlas passive tree. So let me show you it right now, my passive tree. And the big reason is that both of them scale very well with Grand Design, which is gonna give you pack size per allocated notable passive tree. So both Expedition and Harvest is gonna get a lot of rare monsters, which is gonna give you logbooks, Expedition currency, artifacts, and the life force. So because of that, I went for obviously all of the other Harvest and Expedition big notables. You don't care about small points because with Grand Design they give nothing. And also I don't care about this one because we have guaranteed harvest from the sextant, and the same thing for expedition. I don't care about this one. And after that, only things you care about are as many notables as possible to increase the amount of pack size you get. And with the tree that I have right now, I have around 40% increased pack size. The another important thing is to get winged scarab, you need to get seance, so you have enough rare monsters in the map. And I wasn't sure if I'm gonna have enough rare monsters for the at least 3 possessed monsters, thanks to the seance. So on top of that, I went for the essence passives. I skipped this one because it is not really needed. I only wanted guaranteed essence. I wanted it to be duplicated, so you have 2 possessed monsters if one of them is possessed. And their tiers are higher, so you have higher chance for tricking one. So yeah, the seances and essences are mostly because of the winged scarab, but to be honest, after doing this test, now I know that I definitely don't need essences. There's enough monsters in the map to cover at least 3 possessed monsters, so you don't need essences. And I went for this influence because you also gonna need a lot of altars, because the way you're gonna do the map, you're gonna kill the map boss, then you're gonna clear a map and get as many altars as possible to get the increased quantity, because quantity is gonna affect the amount of life force you're gonna drop and the amount of stuff you're gonna get from expedition. So I went for the green influence, and after that, basically everything is just to get as many Atlas passives as possible. So here you're gonna block all of the stuff, which doesn't really matter anyway. For example, if you get the expedition block, you are gonna get expedition anyway from the scarab. So this actually doesn't do anything. Same for harvest. You actually can block harvest because you are gonna get it anyway from the sextant. So here I went for these points. Basically anything that is 1 or 2 passive to get the notable, I went for it. For example, here I got 2. Here, all of these bestiary, I don't care about them at all. I only care about the fact that you only need 2 points to get every single one of them. So that's just a lot of pack size. So that's basically the entire tree. So again, you only need the expedition nodes, harvest nodes, grand design, green influence, seance, and after that only whatever you want for the pack size from grand design. And the last thing I forgot about is shaping the valleys, because it gives 10% pack size if a map is affected by Fortune Favors the Brave. And I don't really care about any of these map device mods, so I decided to go for Fortune Favor the Brave for the additional 10% pack size. And because the maps are pretty expensive, I mean the life force, I decided to roll my maps pretty heavily. So I went for the chisels, and I would alchemy and scour them until the map has at least 90% quantity. So let me quickly try to get it. It might take a while. Let me actually use Chaos Orb so it is faster. Okay, so here we got it. So it's gonna also have 27% pack size, plus 40 from Grand Design, and plus 10 from Fortune Favors the Brave. So that's 40, 50, 60, 70, almost 80% pack size. So 80% of the time you're gonna get 2 harvest monsters instead of 1 in harvest, and the same thing for runic monsters. After that, I went for the sacrifice fragments for even more quantity, and the gilded expedition scarab. To be honest, you can go for winged, but I just didn't feel like buying them. Now that I have a lot of them from a winged sextant, I probably could go for winged ones. So the last thing is obviously to use a craft. So this, and map is basically done. So now let me show you the example. And last thing I forgot to mention is that I'm going for the sulfide nodes, which gives you 1% maximum resistances, which is not really needed, but because of the grand design, this is a good node to take. So because of that, I actually have been using my Nico mission, so I can get a little bit more resistances. And the mods I had to reroll were Reflect, Cannot Regen, and Increased Cooldown Recovery. or reduce cooldown recovery, I don't remember. So yeah, Fortune favors the brave, green influence, Nico, Gilded Expedition Scarab, 3 fragments, enchant, does not consume sextant, and last thing I forgot is obviously using all 4 sextants. And let's go. So as you can see, 3 charges and it wasn't consumed. So let's look at the example. So first thing you want to do is you want to go to a map boss. On my way, I am gonna click the sulfite nodes. So you're gonna see my resistances. Now I have 84. Where is it? Here. So now 85, and there's one more somewhere. Let me kill a map boss now. Here it is. So now, the reason why we want to kill a map boss is because now altars can only give you the player and Eldritch monster options. So no longer we're gonna get the map boss options. So better chances for the quantity, which as you can see I already got one. Here is the first Winged Ambush Scarab. And like I said earlier, my build is not the best at this strategy. If I was something like Tornado Shot, Venom Gyre, or a Wonder, this would be much faster. I would probably, to be honest, be already done with them. Another one ambush and reliquary. These 3 were actually pretty lucky. All of them, I think, go for around 40C right now. So these were very good 3 scarabs. And as you can see, there's enough possessed monsters to cover the 3 that you need. So now again, I am just clearing for additional altars. So far, not getting any luck. And I am skipping the link mechanic. The Lake of Calandra is not really needed. Here's the last sulfite. And hopefully maybe one more altar. Oh, looks like no, I didn't get any. I guess a few more monsters. Okay, and that's it. So only one altar, but it was at least a good one with a quantity. So now let me do the harvest. So with harvest, I always go for the yellow if there is this similar amount of highest tier monsters. So in case you don't know, if you're gonna get the orange text, this is tier 4, so you always want to go for the tier 4. If you get like a light blue, this is tier 3. The white ones, or I guess gray, are tier 2, and the gray ones are tier 1. So you never care about the amount of gray ones. You only care about the amount of tier 2 if there's no tier 3 in any of them, and the most important one is tier 3. But obviously yellow life force is the most important one because this is the most expensive one, and also it helps you sustain the life force with this strategy. So 36, I believe that's from the tier 2, and tier 3 usually gives around 150 to 200. And as you can see, because of the pack size, even though I had one tier 3 monster, it actually got duplicated, so I got 2 of them. And tier 3 always drops the life force. This is why it's very important. Tier 2 not always will drop it. An annoying thing about the yellow one is that they have monsters that burrow under the ground, so sometimes it is pretty hard to find them.
I cannot do this yet.
Let me look for it. Is it already done? No, I can't start the next one because there is somewhere there is a monster hiding. Oh, it is here. Didn't I? I think it died. Yeah, so now I can do the next one. So here, for example, this is a tricky one. There's 3 blue ones and 1 on a yellow one. So these go for around 40 for 1C, and these go for around 16 for 1C. So if you think about it, it is actually still worth it to go for the blue one, because yeah, it is basically 2.5 times as much money from this one, but there is 3 times as much of these. But to be honest, I still care a little bit more about the yellow one, because if you are gonna do the strategy, you can just continue using your own yellow life force for more maps, so it is a bit more convenient to just go for the yellow. So even if you can make a little bit more money, yellow life force is still a bit higher priority for me. So this time it looks like I didn't get the duplicated tier 3, unfortunately. Now I got 2 yellow ones. Hopefully I'm gonna get the proc that... where is it? Is it this one? This one. 10% chance for the unchosen crop to not wilt, so maybe I'm gonna be able to do 2 of them. Obviously here is 1 tier 3, here is 2, so I'm gonna go for this one. And I didn't get a proc. And in case you are wondering how much life force you're gonna get back from a map, every map, on average I would say it's around 1.5k. So you're not gonna sustain your life force, but most of it you're gonna be able to sustain. So this time I got 1.1k, so it's a bit unlucky one. But for example, one time I got like 3.3k. So sometimes you're gonna get lucky, sometimes unlucky. Now let's do the expedition. So with expedition, obviously you care mostly about the logbooks, and then about some pack size, maybe some quantity, and artifacts. But the most important thing is just to get as many school markers as possible to just get the monsters. So here there is pack size at the top, but there is also pack size here, so I'm gonna start at the bottom. Let's hit these 3. I mean 2 monsters. Now let's go here. 2 skulls and 3 remnants. Now these skulls and this 1 remnant. This one. Let's hit all of the skulls at the top. And I still have 2 more, so let me look. It looks like I'm gonna be able to hit all of them, so these ones in here and these ones. Yes. And I couldn't get obviously this one because it's physical immune. So now always double check if you got any bad modifiers. So for example, I cannot reflect, and I also don't want to have any monsters drop corrupted items because that has a chance to drop corrupted logbooks, which is pretty bad. By accident I also clicked the blight. So let's clear the expedition now. Start clicking the chests. So far no logbooks, but there was also no remnants for additional chance for logbooks, so I don't even expect to get that many of them. Oh, I guess I got 1, so that's nice.
Those fiends are getting too close to my pump. The blight is trying to spread.
And that's it. Let's pick up all of the loot. So this expedition wasn't that great. But I got 1 logbook, and this one is Black Scythe, so I believe it costs around 45 chaos. So that's pretty good.
Stay safe.
And yeah, basically map is done. So this one wasn't the craziest one. And in case you are wondering, here I have actually an example of a good one. Good expedition encounter. And here you can see 3 logbooks and a lot of coinages. I believe I got like 30 or something out of this one. So it is a bit RNG, but it's definitely worth it. The same thing with harvest. Sometimes you're gonna get bad harvest, sometimes you're gonna get good ones. And last thing I want to mention before I actually show you the rewards is that I noticed that the expedition is actually very good with God-touched monsters, the Arch Nemesis. Because, actually let me show you the map, there is a remnant that gives increased rarity items for monsters and increased quantity. There's not a single one in here, but there's one that gives quantity of items drop from a monster. And this is gonna affect the amount of loot you're gonna get from God-touched monsters. So if there is a lot of rarity, all of the loot is gonna be converted to uniques. And if you have Solaris, for example, which converts the items into currency, all of the uniques are gonna be converted into exalts or the divines. So thanks to this, one time I had a map where I had 900% rarity and around, I think, 80% quantity, and then I got this loot. So here you can see I got 9 Divine Orbs, 5 Exalted, and 3 Annulments. And also this one had conversion to Flasks, which basically means half of the stuff got converted to Flasks and half got converted to currency. So if this one didn't have Flasks, I would actually get even more. So this happened once. But because it was pretty lucky, I decided to not include this in the test results. And in case you're wondering if it happened again, it actually happened again, but that one time I didn't have that many rarity, that much rarity, so I only got 1 Divine and 1 Exalt. But still, Expedition is pretty nice with the Arch Nemesis because of this. Okay,
Cannot do this yet.
so now let me show you the loot. So I did 50 dunes with this strategy, and the dunes is a good map of choice because it is just open, so it is very good for logbooks and it is very easy to find a map boss. So here's all of the loot, so obviously all of the currencies, some garden maps, not that many, 2 invitations, some maps, stack decks, mostly from Expedition, and some essences. So this is the not important loot, basically just generic rewards. And here's the important loot, which is all of the gilded scarabs, all of the logbooks. Here are the Knights of the Sun, which go for around 70c, Black Scythe, which go for around 45, and here are the Druids and the Order, which go for 15 chaos. Here is all of the Expedition currency, all of the life force, so I got actually I got 80,000 back, but I used 2.5k on actually 70,000, but I used 2.5 on the example that I just did. So here is all of the life force, a little bit of a blue and the purple one. And here we can see all of the currency that I got from the God touched monsters. So again, I did not include them in the test results. So now let's look at the spreadsheet. So here you can see all of the spending. So it was a very expensive test, 8.6k chaos. It took me a pretty long time again because my build is not that great for the strategy, so 7.5 hours. Here you can see all of the prices for the expedition stuff, for the scarab stuff, and for the cost for the sextants. And here are all of the life force. So in terms of loot, I got 2,000 from just normal loot, 4,000 from scarabs, which basically is half of investment, 3,000 from expedition, which is a little bit less than from the scarabs, but obviously doing expedition is pretty long and time consuming. Scarab is just killing 3 monsters. 5,000 from life force, which is most of the profit, but again, you would just use, if you would continue doing the strategy, you would just continue on using this life force for more harvest crafts. So in total, I made 31 divines, which actually is not that big a profit per hour, which is 4.3. But to be honest, I still think it is pretty good. And why is that? So first of all, like I said, my build is not the best for this strategy. I believe if you would be doing this with like a tornado shot or venom gyre or something like that, you would probably do it like twice as fast. So probably more around like 4 hours. So with 4 hours, this would be 8 divines per hour. So that's pretty good. I don't know if you could reach 4 hours, but who knows, maybe. I just am very confident that with much better build you can do it much faster. So because of that, I did put in here profit per map. So 50 maps, I was profiting 0.6 divine per map. So depending on how fast you are doing these maps, obviously you're gonna get more loot. Another thing is that divines are actually pretty expensive. So if you are comparing this strategy to all my other previous strategies, here you can see that divines I priced at 195 per divine, and they are actually going more in price. So when I release the video, they actually might be even more expensive right now. So with, for example, old prices, like let's say 170, this would be like 5 divines per hour. So that also is something that you need to remember about. And another thing I want to mention is that this strategy might be not that crazy later on in the league, but it is very good early on. And the biggest reason for that is because buying sextants is not really possible during like a first 1, 2, or 3 days of the league. Because they just don't exist. People are not rolling sextants. So if you're just starting the league and you get your hands on a winged scarab sextant, Sacred Grove, Yellow Plant, and Runic Monsters, or maybe some other ones like I mentioned earlier, maybe Delirium, maybe Guardian, Conqueror Guardian maps, you can do this strategy early on, and also Life Force is probably much cheaper early on in the league. You can definitely make a lot of money with this strategy early on in the league. So because of these reasons, I actually think this strategy is very good. Another thing, again, like I said, you can try maybe different combination of these sextants. I think maybe Expedition is not the best idea here because it takes pretty long time to do it. And it is decently profitable, but not like crazy. So maybe changing the Runic Monsters to Conqueror maps or maybe Delirium, like I said earlier, could be a good idea. But I'm definitely gonna try out the strategy next league. This league, I think it might be too late for it, especially with this build. You might try it out with some other builds, but it's definitely a strategy to remember for the next league, if they are not gonna remove or change the Harvest Craft. But for this video, that's gonna be it. Thanks for watching and see you next time.